Hello, welcome back to the channel. So today I want to talk about that I understand how it feels to be aging now. I'm over 40 and I am scared of aging now, and I fully understand why women go crazy for plastic surgery. I totally understand now. Anyway, welcome to the chatty corner, people. So yeah, as I said, I was going to talk about something else, but I realized today that I am getting older and I totally now understand the grannies in my crafts groups what they're going through. Like they're 40 years older than me, but I understand like just have a glimpse of it, like when you see your hands, for example, it's not the same hand anymore as when you were in your 20s. Like now my fingers get really inflamed, and the joint at the bottom here is getting larger, and like how people have rings and then they have to get cut off because your hands are swollen now and you can't, and it's basically swallowing your ring. I am getting that because even when I am want to just do this, hold on, I'm gonna put it down. Even when I want to do that, I can feel my fingers like not having enough space to be interlacing with each other, interlocking each other. And that's really crazy to think about. Like, your hands don't even fit in anymore. That's a really bad realization, y'all. And of course, like I always have like skin issues, and my problems that I used to have is like getting larger. Like my hypothyroidism is getting worse. My Hashimoto is getting worse. I'm getting like double jawline here, double chin. And that's like a fat deposit. I totally understand why older women, wants to get plastic surgeries. Like I am so tempted. If I have a lot of money, if I went a lotto, I probably would get like a lot of procedure done. Like that would be me. Like I would get erasing these hyperpigmentations and a lot of these acne scars. And I'll be wearing a lot of things that I, in my 20s, were judging the older women um, of getting. I totally get it now. I mean, because when you look at in the mirror, it's not the same image that you used to see as you were younger. And I'm not saying you don't have problems with self image when you're younger, but there is an issue of like, I feel like when I was younger, when I see in the mirror, even though like I probably don't like a part of myself or how I look, I don't think myself as that's not me. But as I get older, I do have that kind of moments, and the moments are getting bigger and bigger, and it's getting more often, coming more and more often. It's like when I see in the mirror, I'm like, oh, I look like my mother when I was her age. And probably like maybe the last time I saw her, she was in her 50s. That was like the last time I saw her, and I'm not far away from my 50. I'm like only 9 years away from my 50. And so now I'm looking like her. And so when I look at in the mirror, I don't see myself. I see like that's not me. That's like what my mom should look like. That's like an older person, what an older person should look like. Because I was judging this one person like from my craft group, like she's in her late 70s, and she kept muttering about the fact that her husband, who was only 5 years older than her, which is like in his 80s, she always said things like, "Oh, that old man. He's an old man because he's in his 80s." And I'm thinking, "Girl, you're in your late 70s." But I think I understand now what she's going through. She's just not in her mind, she's not in her late 70s. That's like really hard to comprehend because in your mind, you're still stuck in a specific age, whatever it is, and you don't. you can't perceive yourself as that age. And there is a dysphoria, is it dysmorphia is, I think that's the name, about like who you think inside and who you see on the outside is maybe similar like gender dysphoria, but is aging dysphoria. And I'm not saying that it's the same or exactly identical, but I kind of get it now. Like, I always have been a supporter of the LGBTQ people and like the club because I'm part of the asexual umbrella. Even though it is part of my identity, it's not something that I constantly thinking. It's like being autistic as well. It's like it's not part of my whole identity, and I don't think about it. And sometimes I forget that I am. But I feel now, and I've been not involved, but like I have been introduced with the idea of transgenderism and transsexualism ever since I was at uni. So, in my late teens. And even though I understand in theory when they say they're having gender dysphoria, they're having like, body dysphoria, where it's so um, strong that it's making life very difficult in seeing who we are on the inside and looking on the outside, and it's not matching. Now I'm having a glimpse of it in terms of age. It's like the age of my body that I'm looking on the outside is completely different than who I am on the inside. And I feel like, oh, I get it now. I get it. Like, the outside is not matching the inside. And it's crazy because as time goes on, I feel like this dysphoria is going to become bigger and bigger and probably gonna eat me up alive, because I can see like all the bits of myself, like when I record my videos, especially my hands is aging so much. And when I'm like having a close-up shot on when I'm making tea and stuff, like I can see how swollen my hands are and how it is swelling, and it's just aging. It's an aged hand. And I feel like, oh, okay, I feel like that's not me. It's very difficult to see the person on the camera, like on screen. It's like, oh, that's not me, but it is. So I can see how it's so scary now, because the dysphoria, the clash between on the inside on the outside is a bit jarring. Also, it's very scary now as getting older. um it's not like only the cosmetics, like how I have like still have acne, how I still have this massive mole that I'm growing, basically, that wasn't there. And this jaw, like these jawlines and this chin basically disappearing. um Outside of this, I feel like the scariest bit is the health aspect of it. Like, I am fully understanding now that I have to think ahead, but I am a bit helpless because I feel like, oh, I don't know what I can do for my 80-year-old self. I can't even do much for my 40-year-old self or 41-year-old self. But the difference between being 40 and being 20, for example, is that when I was in my 20s and my late teens, I don't think my 30 would come. I don't think my 40 would come. But now in my 40s, I know my 80s are coming. There is no denial about it anymore. There is no like thinking, oh, I'm thinking about it, and it's like, oh, it doesn't happen. I can't even not think about it, even if I want to stop thinking about it. Meaning, like, I know it's coming. It exists. It's not too far away, because you realize now, like 20 years felt like, I don't know, a year nowadays. So decades don't feel that long anymore. So that 80 years old is gonna come. You're gonna be in your 80s. And that's really scary, because even now I'm starting to have like losing function when it comes to like my motor function is weakening. And I'm aware sometimes my balance is not that stable anymore. And I know, even though I'm Like, even when I'm eating a lot of supplements, a lot of healthy food, trying to sleep at the right time, wake up at the right time, everything is just so overwhelming and my body is breaking down. And I'm only in my 40s and I'm trying so hard to take care of it. And all these horror stories that I am hearing from my granny friends probably not gonna be helping me a lot. But it's like, I know they're coming and I know what's coming. I know, like, you're probably gonna have, like, these women have falls, and when they have falls, like, or the men as well, but I don't have, older elderly men in my surrounding. But, like, they're gonna get cuts and the cuts gonna be deep. Like, having a fall would be very, it's no longer a small thing. It is, can be fatal. It can be fatal and it can kill you. And if it kills you, it's probably for me better, but, like, because that means I don't have to suffer the recovery aspect of it. But if it doesn't, that means the recovery is going to be there, which means you're going to be in a lot of pain. And even when you heal, it's not going to be healing 100%. You will have residual pain from that. So I know I'm being extremely negative, but it's not negative. It's just, now my brain is fully in accepting mode and I am trying to integrate that into my brain. And I'm not really sure what to do with this particular information. Just hit me like a ton of break, basically, when I was like watching my hands aged, and you kind of figure it out, like, oh, okay, I'm in my 40s now. Like, it's just such a huge realization. It's such a huge, like, oh my God, everything is going to reach 80s and everything is on decline. Like, I'm looking forward to death. That's probably the best part of it all. But the decline in the motor function and the physical look and everything is waiting for me, and I don't particularly enjoy that, and because it's very scary, especially as someone who doesn't have a lot of resources. I don't have community around me, so there won't be a lot of people taking care of me. I actually, every time I go out now, every time I on a train, I feel like, getting my groceries, I feel like I'm wondering, how long am I going to be able to do this? How long am I going to be able to do my own groceries? Because I see a lot of elderly people doing their own groceries, and it's not a pretty sight. Sometimes they're so slow. Sometimes, like, their back is so bent over. Sometimes they have like strokes and they only can do the grocery on one hand, and they're dragging like the trolley one, the one that they put all the groceries in. And I always think to myself, am I going to be one of those people? If I were, how am I going to do it? It is such a huge reality check, because if I have money, of course, like, I can kind of plan ahead. Of course, you can't ever plan ahead to perfection. You probably can only help yourself maybe 40-50% at a time, because you're always going to have a lot of unforeseen circumstances attached to the future, right? Like, whatever it is that you're planning, you're always going to have to consider the unplanned events happening or unfolding. You always have to have like a hedge plans for those as well. But anyway, the point is, I am scared of aging and I don't know what I'm gonna do. The only thing I know now is that I am going to be rotting from the inside out, and I'm very scared. That's it, guys. I feel like this is such a downer kind of talk, but that's where my head is right now. Anyway, thanks for listening, guys. If you don't know, I'm a solopreneur. I do vlogs sometimes, but most of the times I do yapping here, especially in 2025. There's just going to be a lot of talks and talks, basically. If you want to see what I'm up to on the internet, you can check out the description box below, and I will see you guys later. Bye, everyone.